City Pigeons episode 67. And all I
Looks
can
like it's just the
say,
two of us right now, Jess.
I know, well, we had to really hone in here because we've got such important things to discuss. And I'm going to start this off because I did ask everybody to come to the table prepared to give their own statement, if you will, on the state of our birds and what happened. And I'm going to start us off here by just saying flat out, I'm embarrassed. That's the name that just kept, or that's the word that just kept coming to mind for me. Embarrassing. I can't recall being that embarrassed about a game and the way that transpired, having to listen to Troy Aikman talk about seeing a defeated team.
It wasn't just him. It was pretty much every national analyst, every guy who used to play quarterback in the NFL, everyone who knows anything about the offense of football was flabbergasted. It was
Honestly,
you say embarrassed, I'd go more pathetic.
you like pathetic.
I think pathetic is like the perfect word to describe.
Well, you know, whether it's having when I was in college, getting to know a bunch of people that were from outside the area, or when I was touring with the band, I've met a decent amount of people. And as you can imagine, I'm known in all those circles as the Philly guy, and everybody knows that I live or die and with it. And so I'm getting communications from them constantly. And, the other night, just to get communications from people all over the country saying, man, I was actually pulling for the Eagles. This is pathetic. Like, what's going on?
That's when you
It's
know we're in
just,
a bad spot. Nobody pulls for us, and no one cares usually.
and we're lucky enough that we've had our teams have been good enough over the past couple of years that we've been able to have pride in where we've gotten to. And this was just a rock bottom moment to see the team perform that way, and the coach, just everything to devolve the way that it did. And
I said, you know what it reminded me of? When you go over like a nephew's house and the kid he's like 8 years old and he thinks he's good at Madden and he's like, "Yo, Uncle Mike, you want to play some Madden?" I'm like, "Yeah." Little does he know, I spent my entire childhood playing, and he's doing four deep routes, and I'm bringing the house on the blitz and just crushing his quarterback, and he has no answer for it, and I'm just laughing, knowing he's like a little amateur, and I'll just crush him because he's trying to go deep every other play. I mean, that's the kind of disadvantage it was. It was very bad.
and in this analogy, Nick Sirianni is the 8-year-old nephew.
He's the 8-year-old nephew who thinks he's got like this really good game plan and going into a game. I mean, I just don't understand those plays where Tampa was blitzing everybody on their team, and we didn't have one guy that was like, "Hey, let me break off of my route, go to the sideline, let me come back to Jalen." And I don't know, like that's coaching, I guess. But when you're Jalen, you have to be like, "Yo, guys, I don't know what the hell he just called, but they're bringing the house at me, and I can't shake it. So you guys got to run some short routes, some quick slants. I don't know, some impact. Do something to help me besides a wide receiver bubble screen."
Unbelievable. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, how is it that this team, with these relatively these same players, same coaches, how did they beat the Chiefs and the Bills and the Dolphins? How did they do it? Like it defies logic.
Unfathomable that this is the same team in the same season that didn't have like that devastating of an injury to where it would be like, I can understand how they became a completely different team. Like other teams had bigger injuries than them, and they bounced back, and they were okay. I don't get it, man. Like, and to Baker May to lose to the Bucks again, Baker Mayfield. It's just
Sad in every
it
regard.
hurts.
Well, we've got various members of the crew waiting to give their take, all
Are
from
they
different.
all in technical difficulties, or are they with us again?
They're here. They're here. So let's get to them one by one. Let's start with a guy who is pretty even keel for the most part, but I've never seen him as angry as he was down the stretch, and that is the venerable Thomas Henneman. Let's bring him in here. Tom,
Fellas,
where the frick? Oh, you got a puppy.
I got Frankie. Frankie's hanging with us
You know,
right now.
That's the perfect thing to try to lighten the mood. Bring a puppy.
Right.
Brilliant. I didn't say to bring a puppy, but that's good.
So listen, what not to completely echo what you said, but what for me, what it really hurts is it goes back to last year when we had a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl and we blew it and we had a chance to change the narrative. And that to me was like the beginning of the collapse of this. And then to have them go 10-1 and all along, just all of us saying, not all of us saying, but Goodhart definitely not saying. But I was in the camp of, listen, we're not playing our best ball, but we got the gangsters in the locker room to bring us home. BG, Kelsey, Fletch, Lane, like we got the guys to bring us home.
Well,
Jalen.
BP played well.
And
Devontae played well. And
Devontae did, but I mean, I'm talking about our
to a certain
vets, the guys
extent,
that.
Jalen didn't play bad. There was only a couple guys, though. Everyone else played like absolute shit.
Well,
But they
Tom,
didn't look. They looked disinterested. It just felt so uninspiring and just a complete betrayal. Like honestly, like I felt betrayed again. I was like, damn.
I like betrayal.
I'm sitting here and I feel like I've been punked again. Like
we were betrayed by them.
Yeah.
No, you brought up something that I think everybody was thinking about, and to me, as we spiraled out of control, I said, "There's no way this is going to happen." Because you've got Kelsey and Lane, Fletcher, BG, all these guys who you would think would be able to stand up in the locker room and say, guys, pull it together. We're not going out like this. We've been here before. We've done this. We know what it takes. But what became clear to me, all those guys were exasperated, right? Like whatever happened there.
Kelsey couldn't even get under the guy for the tush push. We even lost the tush push in that game. Like it was everything went bad. Even
to
the
be
guaranteed.
Fair, they did rip his head off for about 6 seconds of that 10-second tush push. And
right, but he didn't get there. No matter if he would have not touched his head or not, should have been a penalty. But regardless, they did a lot of things that were. I mean, even in the first half, Mike Evans, who doesn't drop anything that touches his hands, had 2 key drops. Cade Otton had that one play in the slot that, I mean, would have easily been a touchdown. Nobody was in front of him. He dropped that. Not to say, I mean, those plays happened throughout the course of the game, but it could have been even worse than it was.
Ugly. It could have been a lot uglier, a lot earlier.
A pattern that I saw developing with this team that I didn't think those vets would allow to persist was this was like that team, and you guys are probably seeing teams like this, whether it's kids or, college, where when things start to go wrong, it's just like you get that like shrug, like they're looking at each other like this, and then they're almost ready for things to go poorly, and it just so easily snowballs. And I said to myself, there's no way these guys are going to let that happen in the playoffs. There's too much on the line. There's too many people watching. And early on in that game, it was like, wow, like you could already see it. It didn't matter what happened. That's why when you guys, like we're watching the game, right, and they had the pass to Devontae, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And everyone's like freaking out. And I'm just like, you just know, you knew it was, you could just see it. And that's a kind of depression, that it's just a different thing, man. It was poor. It was really poor. All right, let's broaden things a little bit here. Frozen Finky is in the waiting room, but it says devices not connected. So Frozen Finky is going to have to wait to get his act together.
Off mode. He that was a hospital ball.
Oh wait, no, here he is. Here he is. Hold on, let's get him in here real quick.
I made it. I'm so sorry.
In here, Frozen Finky, what's up?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, buddy.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Y'all bundled up in there, Fink?
Yeah, I'm freezing, man. I still got this on. I got an undershirt on. I got a thermal on. I got an undershirt underneath that.
No,
it's cold out here.
Fink's notorious for not being a fan of winter. And not to say that people are, but some people handle it better than others. I talked to him early. He said, are you kidding me? I hate this. I live with Elsa. So he has problems at home as well.
Yeah, someone sleeps with the windows open when it's 30 degrees out at night and it gets cold.
Yeah, that is rough, rugged. I don't know how you're doing, but Fink, how are you holding up mentally after this? I saw you put some stuff online. It looked like you were having a hard time.
It's just bullshit, to be honest with you. Like, we started 10-1, and we just had to sit here throughout these weeks and just watch this team just quit and collapse. And they're pointing fingers at each other, and you have the locker room leaks, and you have this and that. And then you have Brandon Graham coming out and saying that Patricia getting elevated was media driven, and it's just this whole season just ended on bullshit. It's so stupid. That locker room quit, everyone quit, and it was just watching a plane crash just slowly happen. And look at us now. Now I want Nick Sirianni's blood, and that's the only thing that will satisfy me.
That's the only thing that will satisfy you. Did you see all these reports that he's coming back?
And it's going to be the same thing. You hire a coordinator, and then they're gone next year, and then he stinks, and then we're just going to be in an endless cycle.
Fink, did I hear you say you want to have Sirianni? You want to replicate what you did to the old
Blooper?
Baxter, or what's the Braves
Blooper.
mascot?
Listen, sacrifices worked back in the day. Why don't we go back to human sacrifices? You want to sacrifice Nick Sirianni for a Super Bowl? Because I would.
I'd consider it.
See, now you're thinking about it. I'm just saying.
All right, Finkster. We appreciate you. Now, a guy who's fresh off a performance tonight in his amateur basketball league. Let's see how he's doing here. Bring him in. Rocky B-Ball.
It's popping. How you guys
What
doing?
up?
What was your line tonight, Rox?
Wasn't good again.
Yeah, give us your stat line real quick.
I don't know what it was. Maybe like 10, 5, and 5. I don't know. We were without some of our best players. We were without our best players, so it was one of those games, you know.
Oh, that's not you. You're not the best player?
No, I'm not going to sit here in front like I am.
Are you the Toby? Are you the Toby of your team?
That's not quite a good comparison. I would say, you know, I'm more like I said it last time, like Jordan Poole. You know, I can get hot some days, and some days I can just completely stink it
God
up.
awful.
So,
You know what I mean?
so Rock, I have my phone here. This text from you at 1:44 p.m. You're
What's it
getting
say?
Rocky
Pull up
B-Ball
receipts.
fresh off a 20-piece nugget. So that didn't happen.
Nah, dude, nah. I didn't even take enough shots to score 20 points tonight. I think I probably, like I said, maybe about 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I was gassed, dude. I played last night, and I just want to say this real quick. One of the downfalls of playing old head b-ball, we were playing a little pickup game last night, and this guy just, you know, he went to go take off, and boom, there goes his Achilles right there, left it on the floor.
I hate hearing those stories.
Yeah, and it was, you know, it brings that black cloud over the gym. Everybody feels bad for the guy, but
Just know this: you pop that Achilles on your driving foot, you ain't driving either. My
It was
buddy
just-
couldn't drive.
it was his left foot. I mean, the guy walked off the court on his own too, like Kobe when he blew out his Achilles. I was impressed
Honorable.
by how he took the pain. But anyway,
Okay.
back to the Eagles.
Let's get it back to the Eagles. We got Luke in the chat. Luke says, I think the reason Sirianni is back is because it's proven his offense works with the right guys calling it.
I would kind of
That's
agree
fair.
with Luke. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
kind of agree with that.
I mean, it worked. It did work last year, right?
It did. They got to the Super Bowl with that offense.
Right.
They had a huge lead with that
Now-
offense in the Super Bowl.
This is when we get into like the inside football stuff that I can't pretend I know like some other people might that have played or coached or whatever, but is it possible? He has one great year. Coaches have all off season to look at the tape. They come back, and then it's a question of can you adjust, or is Brian Johnson doing something different?
I think one of the biggest things about the Eagles this year was that
Or
they
option
failed
3,
to make
real
adjustments.
quick, Rock. He got paid, and he's no longer motivated as he once was.
I don't think that's the case. Those guys are always motivated. Nobody wants to look like a dumbass in front of the whole world.
Look at basketball players now. They get paid
Yeah,
in the first 3 years, and then you turn from a superstar in the making to just an average guy who's going about your career. It happens all the time in basketball.
But you're talking about players. You're not talking about coaches. Coaches don't want to look like a horse's ass in front of the world. You know what I mean?
You're talking about Sirianni. I was talking about Hurts.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Pay attention, dude. Pay attention.
I don't know. Last we were talking about basketball.
listen, if getting, I don't want to say roasted, but doing what you did last night in front of that audience, everyone, like, I'm sorry, man. It doesn't even take money to motivate you. That's pride at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. So like,
Well, I think Sirianni made it obvious that he's a motivator. He's a people pleaser, a guy that brings guys together. He's not calling plays. He's not a great football mind. So, you know what? If you have to get rid of a guy like that, whatever. But get a guy who is a great football mind and can do that as well. I mean,
they looked real motivated out there on Monday, right?
And I hated how like Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey were backing up Sirianni today. Like, they're pretending this wasn't the worst collapse. Not even in Eagles history. I don't remember a football team that ever did this. Like, even the Baltimore Ravens did this shit, but then they went on a run in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just really bad to just act like, oh no, they're great coaches. Oh yeah, well, what the fuck did I watch? Pardon my language.
If you read the article by the one guest we're gonna have, I guess, in a couple of minutes, you would see that there was only one other team in NFL history that had such an epic collapse like this. It was like the '86 Jets, I think, that started 10-1 and ended up with such a shitty record. But they in his article,
that's a great lead-in, Rock.
They won a playoff game. That team did. So
that is a great lead-in, and I'm happy to have some people that actually know the stats and the data. But before we get to that, we got a guy that I asked to come in because I know he was pissed off. This is a guy who he's out on the West Coast, so he's kind of out on his own a bit. And he's got to rep us out there. And I know this guy was pissed off. And I'm going to get him in here as soon as I got to kick Frozen Finky out of here. Let's get him right in. There he is.
There he is.
Jimmy Garecki. Jimmy.
What's up, Jimmy?
Jesse. Fink, Rock.
Dude, how's the vibe out west? Are you in California? I assume so, right?
I'm sitting here eating a sloppy Joe right now. Man, I think we're just as confused as you guys right now, man. You know, I woke up Tuesday morning and I'm just like, the last 45 days, was it real? You know, I was like, I don't know how to make any sense of it just as you guys don't, man. It's like, the confusing part is this too. It's like, if we hold on versus Arizona, hold on versus
Seattle,
we're cruising in the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And, you know, but the way we went to the way everything unveiled Monday, it was like we would have been like that would have been the 1 seed outcome. You know, so I'm glad we lost in Tampa rather than, you know.
Now, Jimmy, I'm guessing, you know, I was talking a little earlier about the embarrassment of being known as the Philly guy to people who, you know, aren't from here. And, you know, in times like these, everybody kind of wants to take your temperature, right? You must get that like tenfold out there, right?
Piling it on, you know, because my family's kind of all over. So we have family that's Niners fans. My brother-in-law is a Bears fan. My father-in-law is a Bears fan, but he's like the best of Bear fan. Where he's like, look, I got my chip in '88. You know, I'm cool now. I've seen or, you know, and I don't know. Oddly enough, it's almost like, you know, I think having actually witnessed our team win a chip in our adult life has
softened you.
It's softened me, man.
I agree. I said that before. It happened with me with the Phillies in 2008. I was crazy about the Phillies, and then now I could take the losing seasons a little bit easier because at least I've experienced that. Then when the Eagles won in 2017, I was like, you know, I'm going to be a little easier. And even this year, I would have been furious. I would have been nuts most years, like insane crazy. But this year, it's a little easier to take because at least I have that memory. Now I need the Sixers.
Man, you know, it's just confusing, man. Honestly, like that's the biggest thing because it's like, you know, it's a 10-1 team. Everyone's like, yeah, but if you flip a couple of those games, there could be 5-5. But at the end of the day, they're still 10-1. And what do they say about football teams? Is you are what your record says you are.
It's all about the W. That
statement is so true when it comes to the NFL. but you know, it's
I'll tell you where I disagree with you guys a little bit, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Winning in 08, winning in 2017, 18 with the Eagles softens the blow to an extent. But that for me just was like proof that we could do it. You know, because I'm always thinking about this from the perspective of my Philadelphia identity, right? And then I'm like, all right, we got it. We got a chip. All right. So back off. We did win. But then I'm like, you want to feel like that wasn't just a deviation from some sort of standard and that you're not really,
Listen, this is just how we justify it after the fact. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of okay. It's not really,
yeah.
but what are we going to do right now?
But
And at least we once had it. That's
honestly,
all.
I
That's
feel
all I
like
can say about that.
I feel like I assume an addict must feel, right? Where it's like getting that taste of that. I want to be in that equation year after year. I know that's unrealistic, but you see a lot of teams that are able to do that. And that's what I want now, right? It's like, okay, we got a championship, but I want to be up there and be, among the badass teams for a prolonged period of time, get multiple chips and be like, Philly is legit. You know what I mean? Instead of just these one-off wins, man, and then because the problem is now you're here and you got to fight back.
Yeah.
And I think, who knows, man? It's so weird. There's no reason to say we might not be able to come back next year and get back. I don't know.
I give Sirianni all the credit in the world. Like, you've been the head coach for 3 years. For 3 years, we've been in the playoffs. Unfortunately, twice of which we lost in the first round of Tampa Bay. But whatever, that's aside the fact. You make it to the tournament. Last year, you're a holding call away. It just like was a strange, bizarre series of things. Like I gotta feel like we're gonna come out like I feel like after the Cowboys game, something maybe really was up with Jalen's knee, because as powerful as a runner as he was, it was like. But I mean, I get the Buffalo game was after Dallas, right? And
he was scrambling in that game. He looked like Peyton Manning. He had no lateral movement. He wasn't the same. I don't know what's going on with him, but there was definitely something up.
And then, I mean, like Bradbury was lights out last year. And then it was just like, man, this guy couldn't catch a cold this year, So I don't know, man. It was a lot of things, like a lot of question marks that we were all just sitting there as like spectators watching it. Like this was what we were accustomed to last season,
Well, look, it was rough. Jimmy, I thank you for taking some time. I think the only thing that you can take as a silver lining is Joel Embiid, right?
Oh,
That's
man.
it, right?
43?
I mean, good timing for the Sixers with that game last night and what he's doing.
They just came out reports within like an hour or two ago, right? That we're just looking for coordinators now. Sirianni straight.
Right.
And it's back.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what should have, they gave, because those guys were both internal, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw some weird shit talking about how Lurie couldn't meet with them. We got a bona fide journalist coming on shortly, so we're going to get all this verified. But Jimmy, you're the man, dude. Thanks for jumping on with us. Now you see how easy this is to do. So, we might need our own like Jimmy segment, I think. I mean, something to think about.
That would be. I tell you what, man. I definitely feel, after that game, you're generally salty, like the next round of the playoffs. Like I'm actually looking forward to this next round. And I mean, maybe it's because the Cowboys put up a 50 burger at home, and they still seem to think that this was worse for us. It was like,
yeah, this put us at ease a little bit.
Well, somebody said earlier, there hasn't been, I think, aside from maybe the Dolphins game, there haven't been many games that were actually not, excruciating to watch. So in one respect, you're right. We're put out of our misery. So Jimmy, hey,
usually pretty tough too, man. It's like, I don't know. It's never really too many close games, right? It's like you got one team that generally squeaks in, and then the other team is, they're in a more solid point. And unfortunately, we were on that side of the pendulum this year.
Yep.
Well, look, dude, keep flying the flag out there. We'll check.
Go Sixers, go Flyers.
Yeah, if you're coming back east, you got to let us know.
We'll do. Yep, I've got another big Philly project coming soon too. So,
holler, we're here.
Yep, cherry and white.
We're ready for it.
Oh, okay. Appreciate you, dude.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good night, y'all.
Be well.
Take care, Jimmy.
The legend Jimmy Garecki checking in. Jimmy
Love
is
that guy.
like no joke. Jimmy, after we had Jimmy on our episode, we got on this text chain, Jimmy and Meech and I, and he's watching all these games and he's texting us. He gets mad as hell. I got all types of respect for him.
He's the greatest.
Yeah, so thank you for Jimmy. All right, before we get to the bona fide journalist who's going to clear all this up, we do have to quickly check in with our legal expert here, who appears to be in the Parker suite of the. Where are you there, Mark? Mark,
Are you in Dave Parker's basement?
I'm in the conference room of my office. Sorry, the Mamba jersey's there too.
Ooh, that's a nice item.
It's not
What's
all
happening,
Dave,
Goodhart?
it's not all Dave Parker down here, but there's a lot of it.
How you feeling? Don't give us some rant about love or whatever.
No, but I'm drinking stress relief tea though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to give you a rant about love, but I will say this: everyone was making fun of me, per usual. Where I said the team needed to find their love and find their unity again. And I think the biggest thing that came out of that game is they played with no heart. And I keep hearing everyone talking on the radio how this team played with no heart. And so maybe I was right, you know.
But they also played with no skill.
Hear me out.
Or no direction, or no game plan, or no coaching, or
But even in the moments where they
offensive line, it was a lot of no shows in that game.
Fair enough. But even in the moments where they had a chance to just set all that aside and make a play, I mean, how many times when we were watching that game there, they were like, wow, nobody wants to tackle anyone.
Yeah, the tackling was, I mean.
And that's heart, and that's desire, and that's willingness to put your body on the line for your fellow teammates and for your coaches. And so I will echo what Fink said with my own spin, the lack of heart. But, man, I expected more from this group of guys. And that's, I think, what was so upsetting about this. Not the result. I mean, we sort of all were kidding ourselves that we weren't going to get this result after what we watched. But, man, for this group that I thought was the exact opposite of how they showed up the past few weeks, man, they really let me down with who they really are. They just were not who I really believe they are, save a few guys.
They are who you thought they were, or they're not who you – anyway, it doesn't make a difference. But the tackling is, right, you know, that is something – watching that game and listening to the announcers talking about the tackling, seeing it over and over. And that's interesting because, yes, the tackling is, I guess, heart, but it's more like technique, right? When you're Bradbury and you go to tackle somebody, you can't arm tackle a guy above the waist. You know, you got to – and, like, so that's the thing, too, that is interesting. And I don't know this because I'm not there with the team. It looks like a lack of heart.
And they weren't trying to tackle Craig Ironhood Hayward. They were trying to tackle their skinny-ass receivers who probably never broke a tackle in their goddamn careers.
Yeah, and I can't say that they're not trying hard. You know what I mean? I can't say that, but it certainly
I'm not saying they're not trying hard because they are very successful professional athletes, and I would never disrespect them by saying they're not trying hard. Everyone's trying hard. It takes immense effort to even get to that spot. But there was just something that was holding them back from laying it all on the line. That's all I'm saying. And that's
game plan, I think.
That could be part of it. But
a game plan and a collective disbelief in their ability to win the game. And, you know, last episode I asked everyone to suspend disbelief. If you were able to suspend your disbelief came back very quickly.
But didn't they in 2017 into you know, February 2018, didn't they almost make up for a gap in talent and any other gaps they may have had against other teams by having just the most immense amount of unity and heart? Right. And that was completely lacking for whatever reason. That's
by the way, that's a big reason that I think, you know, the Kelseys and, you know, I think they were just like, look, man, this ain't it, you know, and like we're tired, and
and in a weird way, I sort of understand that. And
dude, they've been around for a while.
Yeah, and make no mistake, it's a business every which way, and it's a business decision at times for these guys, and I don't hate them for it. It's just why we didn't win.
Keith in the chat says, I think they stopped believing when Patricia was put in charge.
Fair
I don't doubt that. Maybe that was like a knee-jerk reaction, and the team was just like, Jesus, you got to be kidding me. And then it all kind of unraveled. Mark, thank you.
Two quick things. Two very quick. Number one, if Jimmy was referring with his cherry and white comment to a Temple collaboration,
he had to be.
Jimmy's a Temple grad.
Right. Then, goddamn, I'm all in, obviously.
Mark is going to spend $500 on that as soon as it comes out.
Well, I was just thinking I might be able to model it on the show. But, anyway, don't worry. I'll buy my fair share. And number two, if Fink makes another appearance, I'm taking my kids down to the Flyers game tomorrow night. And since he's our resident Flyers attendance expert, just wondering if you had any tips for me, buddy.
There he is. Fink, tips?
I would say enjoy the game.
Thank you, sir.
What a tip, Fink.
That's deep. No, listen,
God damn it.
I have an idea. Fink, could we maybe see if a certain in-arena personality might interview Mark's kids by pure happenstance?
You're talking about Gritty, right?
Something to think about.
I do have a connection with Gritty, and I will talk to that person tonight and find out
about
from Mark.
Devin. I was just kidding.
All right.
Who's that?
Listen, we've made this man wait.
The person who owns all those books behind you.
Oh, I cut.
I read those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. My bad, dude. Look, we've made this guy wait far too long. So I'm going to bring him in here because he knows what actually is happening. We just all.
He's been to every sporting event that you've ever dreamed of going to. Brian's been there.
Brian Armin Graham is in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my guy. What's up, Brian?
What's up?
What's going on?
Every time I see you, some cool sporting event is happening because I've seen you in the parking lot, countless times before major games. And we always talked about how you were a journalist. And now are you with the Guardian? Is that right?
Yeah, I've been coming up on 10 years with the Guardian, actually. It's kind of crazy. Time flies. Yeah.
Dude, good for you. Unbelievable. Yeah. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Monday was the coolest sporting event I've ever been to, but, you got to take the good with the bad. There's a lot more Eagles fans down there in week 3 than there were on Monday night. And tickets were a lot. It's crazy.
People weren't willing to invest. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. It was crazy.
Okay, so
the main guy down there was that dude with the silver painting, the green head and the silver strip through his head and the mohawk. What's that guy's name? Super fan man or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I saw a picture of him.
I think his name is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with whoever said it earlier. This all feels like a bit of an out of body experience. Just speaking actually sort of as a fan and somebody who grew up in Philadelphia, like, I can't, people talk about 94 and like the second chip year, 2014, but like, this is completely different, like, I don't know, just feels like an out of body experience.
Yeah. And you wrote a piece today kind of looking at this with some historical context in terms of how bad this really was. Talk to us a little bit about that exercise.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think like somebody else mentioned it earlier. I mean, we are the only team, I guess, that started, 10-1 and failed to win 12 games. The 86 Jets were the other. That team actually did win a playoff game, and then they lost a close divisional game. But I mean, for us, to lose 5-6 in the regular season to the Cardinals, to the Giants, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty bad, and everybody saw this coming, I think, on Monday night. One thing that we didn't talk about, and like, I know this is in danger of becoming like the narrative, but like, I think the 49ers game, it really sort of like took their souls, like I keep going back to like the champion boxer who's like never lost. And like, they take that first knockout loss and like, you lose something that you never get back. Like they just, they were never the same after that. And like, as an Eagles fan, like it's tough to swallow because, we listen to months of trash talk from, all the San Francisco players about, how they were overrated, the Eagles, how they were frauds. And in the end, they were right about everything.
Yeah. They're right about Bradbury.
They totally saw through Sirianni, unlike
Yeah.
basically every other team in the NFL, and they exposed them badly, and fair play to them for that, so.
Yeah, the Eagles spent the last 6 weeks trying to prove that the 49ers game they didn't get exposed, and it just got worse and worse for them.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I mean, we've never seen anything like it. I mean, someone also mentioned, 2 months ago it would have been unfathomable to imagine firing, Sirianni, any coach coming off a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now it's almost harder to imagine keeping him. In 7 weeks, he went from being in line for a fat extension in the offseason to, if he's fired, maybe never coaching in the NFL again. So it's nuts. I can't even think of another situation like it. So
life comes at you fast sometimes,
it does.
guess. But that's interesting. Now, who do you think? There's been no shortage of debate about who's at fault, and coaches and players and Howie, and it's easy to say everybody has a little bit of it, but if you had to point to one thing that led to this unavoidable outcome, what would you say that it is?
Well, you said it. There's no shortage of blame. A lot of people might question how the leadership on the team was so bad to allow this outcome. Then you could counter with the fair argument that the coaches gave the players no chance to win. But I do think that decision to replace Desai with Patricia just reeked of desperation. And I don't know. I just think it sent a message to the players. They had big problems this season. And when it came time to fix them, the coaching staff did not have any clue what to do. And once that became clear to the players, I think it was over. And I think making that desperate decision to switch to Desai as the defensive play caller, was really symbolic of them really having no idea what to do.
Well, how about the Bills after our game? They switched coordinators and they haven't lost since. I mean, that was a move of desperation. I guess it depends how desperate. Every situation's different. It's not necessarily a desperate situation if that's what it calls for. And honestly, Desai wasn't. Nobody liked him. I don't think. I don't think anyone liked Patricia either. But it's you got to try something.
Yeah, I guess you're right, but at the same time, and we're looking at this with the benefit of hindsight, but those last few games, it looks like those 11 players met each other 15 minutes before the game. They had no idea where to go. I mean, everyone's talking about them dropping, Reddick back into coverage and doing all these things. I mean, Matt Patricia, it's a little tough on him, but the truth is, this is a guy who's symbolic in this city. He's associated with giving up 500 yards.
Right.
In this,
it's a Nick Foles.
You know what I mean? Of all people, it's almost like if you can handpick any person from football history, that would be, that.
And then he went to the Lions. It became one of the worst defensive head coaches in the NFL for 17 straight weeks.
I think Robert Griffin said he got the offensive coordinator job and the defensive coordinator job in back-to-back years, and he was the wrong fit for both of them. I don't know. It's crazy.
Now, one thing.
Oh, I have a question real quick. If Brian Johnson is Hurts's guy, so what do you do with him now? Because we have to move on with the offensive coordinator as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, here's the thing. Hurts is the $250 million guy now, so, and I know he's not a man of many words in public, and he plays it close to the chest, which I think a lot of times we like about him. But, I have no doubt that, Mr. Lurie and Howie have probably having a word with him and they're speaking with him before moving forward. It does sound like they're going to keep Nick another year.
We tried this guy, okay? We tried this guy. We gave you the money. We gave you your guy. That didn't work. You played like shit. He didn't coach well. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if there was an argument for getting rid of Nick, it just hit me this morning when I almost forgotten about it. But about 10 years ago, the Giants or the Broncos went to the Super Bowl with John Fox, and then they didn't make it back the next year, and then they fired John Fox immediately, and then they won the Super Bowl with the first-year coach the next year, Gary Kubiak. So, maybe if Nick doesn't, if it doesn't work out next year, they can really cut bait. It's not it's not Larry's way to, really, he doesn't want to appear like he's on tilt and reactive, as bad as this was, maybe like cooler heads will prevail. It's just not his system, but, he's obviously on the shortest of short leashes, next season.
But that's the thing. I was thinking about the same scenario as I debated whether he could get rid of the coach. If he gets rid of this coach, given objectively the success he's had after getting rid of Doug Peterson a few years after Doug wins, it just starts to look like, he's got a quick trigger finger, and I know he doesn't. He doesn't look like that. So
yeah,
beautiful. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad now we've got you as a kind of a consultant that we can go to try to get some of these questions answered.
Anytime, first time, long time. I'm glad to be here.
Beautiful.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Good seeing you.
Wait,
You're the man, Brian.
Are you going to? What do you want to now?
Honestly, I'm kind of. It's an Olympic year. I'm kind of already looking ahead to that. I probably have something, small between now and then, but yeah, looking forward to Paris. Let's
Brian,
go.
did you see the kid that the Pittsburgh Pirates called onto their team today? Or
Allen Iverson?
Allen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you see his height and weight?
He's 6'160". It's
what the
perfect.
That had to be a joke. Somebody had to guess.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. See that from Panama.
Yeah, we need to trade whatever prospect we can and acquire this guy just for vibes and juju purposes.
Exactly.
All right, Brian. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right.
We'll talk
See
to
you guys
soon.
Take care, my man.
Take it easy.
That is Brian Armin Graham. You can check him out at The Guardian. All right. Now, Fink, one thing that we didn't talk about yet. Your boy,
Fired.
Big Dom, in the guarantee.
He lied to me.
He lied to you.
Happened.
Somebody else had a guarantee of somebody from the Eagles told them they lied to them. It's a bunch of liars in that Eagles organization about winning.
And you guys don't want to clean house with all these liars in there. Big Dom can go too. Lying to me. Who does he think he is? I'm just kidding. You see this Big Dom? I'm just kidding.
Big Dom is not going anywhere. Big Dom transcends regimes. All right.
Big Dom will show up at Fink's doorstep. Like, what were you talking about there, buddy? He'll be swimming with the fishes.
Kind of like the Brady Bunch as you were adding us all into the screen there. It's cute,
know, right? It is. It's funny. It's Hollywood Squares. All right. Well, I got a question actually.
The youngest one in girl.
I wanted to take everybody's temperature. I see we've got Rock has what do you got, a Sixers jersey on and a Sixers hat?
You know what? Okay. I was sitting here and I was like, I'm Rocky B-ball. The Eagles season is over. Eagles season's been over in my mind.
Mark, what are you wearing? Is that a Sixers? Okay. Tom has Sixers. Meech has a Sixers hat. Fink, what are you wearing on your head? Anything sports?
Philadelphia Water Dogs.
Underdog.
Okay, so that's the only Eagles-related paraphernalia. My question to you is this. As you're going to reach for the hoodie of the day in a circumstance like this, safe to assume you wouldn't grab a piece of Eagles gear. Is that true? Is that a fact?
I wore my Sixers hoodie to work today.
There is zero chance I'll wear a piece of Eagles gear until probably next September.
I'm with Meech on that.
So that's what I was going to say.
I wore my JSP sweatpants for the second day in a row yesterday, full disclosure.
I just
JSP.
Timmy Gorecki just did a collaboration with another dude on a Broad Street Bully shirt, so I ordered that. That's on the way.
All right. Yeah, because I was wondering, like, after a big loss, obviously you don't want to put the gear on to remind yourself. But after such an epic loss and the amount of shame that comes along with how that transpired, this has to be an extra long period of time where people are not going to be reaching for their Eagles gear, I would think.
Not only that, and I know it's dangerous, but if I'm driving down 95 South, I close my eyes for about 3 minutes while I'm passing Lincoln Financial Field, and I hope I make it. But I don't even want to look at that fucking stadium right now.
Freaking hurts. Well, one thing I wanted to talk about real quick. We have to talk a little bit about Kelsey. it seems like he did not want. Okay, let me back up. It sounds like reports are in the locker room. He said something to his teammates about how this was going to be his last game. And then somehow that got out, and it was announced that he was retiring. And then he was pissed off about that, that he wanted to announce it.
He's a big time guy now, and he can get his retirement announcement sponsored,
right?
And it could come on a show. That's what he's concerned. He's probably going to retire. I mean, he's got such a career ahead of him in broadcasting, his podcast, whatever he wants to do. But that's what he was concerned about.
He shouldn't have said anything then.
But he confided in his teammates, and guys like Adam Schefter leaked it out, and he wanted to make money off of this announcement. Because if you heard the whole announcement on his podcast, he's talking about cherishing the good times. He was obviously wrapping up his career and saying, basically this is it in so many words. But he just wants it I mean, I don't blame him. Whatever, do whatever you want, but you can't knock Adam Schefter, who's trying to do his job, and say that he announced his retirement to his teammates, which he probably did.
It just created this weird scenario where you want to celebrate him, but you're kind of like, I'm waiting for the official announcement myself.
On the other hand, he could even flip that. I mean, Tom Brady's done it. The dude's obviously in good shape. He was an all-pro. He hasn't missed a game in his NFL career. He's talking about this is the first year in a while he doesn't feel right on Wednesdays. Like, dude, I don't feel right on Wednesdays, and I work in an office chair in my room. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's a fair comparison, to be frank.
He's in media.
I'm just saying, like, dude, that's not a reason to quit.
I will say the weirdest part of it is that everyone and their mother started jumping on this. I love Jason Kelce. What a great career. Thank you so much. You're retired. Before he's officially announced it. Like, and when I say it's not just Adam Schefter, it's like every normal human being that doesn't even really watch the Eagles, right? Like, I think
they're just reading the tea leaves.
Space. Like, just give the guy some.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, Meech, when you were talking about him saying he doesn't feel good on Wednesdays, one thing was a little different this year. I mean, how many tush pushes do you think they ran this year?
Oh my God.
1 million, and it's got to take a toll on him.
The dude is at the bottom of the pile every time.
Yeah,
every time he gets up, I'm like, "Are you
hear
this guy gonna?"
Hear what he says?
Yeah, I would have retired 2 years ago right after the Super Bowl. Maybe.
What does he say, Tom?
What he screams every time when he snaps it?
No.
Fuck my life or something like that. He screams.
Is that right?
I heard that somewhere today. I'll have to find it. But yeah, I heard that earlier today.
If you've ever been on the bottom of a pile, you can lose your breath pretty quick, man. It can be a frustrating experience.
You can lose your breath.
I don't blame him, but all I'm saying is the dude hasn't lost a step. He's still playing at an all-pro level. And the only if he's jumping ship, he sees something coming that he doesn't want to be a part of.
Did you watch the Kelce film, the documentary?
Yes,
I did, and I've been meaning to, but I haven't watched it yet.
Right, so you saw how.
Don't watch it now. You're going to feel even more salty.
Yeah, well, the folks.
I have no interest.
The folks who did watch it, they saw how hard it was for him to make that decision to come back this year. And after this year, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion. And then I heard something he came out today talking about the long-term head effects of playing football for such a long career and all those guys with the CTE. Like, he's talking like that. It's over, man. It's a wrap. The dude had a great career.
Well, he's been talking about that for years.
Yeah, but he's got another kid now, and you saw the documentary how hard it was on his wife handling the 2 kids. I think it's a wrap for the dude.
And the dude retires the greatest, most popular center in football history.
Yeah,
unless you
after last
Dermonte
year.
Dawson, maybe.
And he's about to be Taylor Swift's brother-in-law, man. That's got
Dermonte Dawson.
You know?
That's what I said, Dermonte Dawson.
Yeah, nobody. Look, after last year, I'm confident he was like, we can win with Jalen. We're going to run this back because I think we're all here. We're going to do it. After this year, who knows what next year is going to hold? No way he's coming back. Sorry.
Unless something happens where they hire some crazy coordinator who he's super friends with that, he believes in, that can take him to the promised land one more time, then I just don't see it
If
happening.
this isn't the kind of year that makes you decide you don't want to play anymore, I don't know what kind of year will do it. Maybe the only thing that might bring him back is the shame of how this ended so bad he can't go out like that. But I think it's pretty much over. I'm going to wait for him to, like Mark said, I'm going to wait for him to actually say that he's done before I truly celebrate everything he's done. Maybe we can cook up some fun idea to pay homage to him. All grow our beards out long and walk around shirtless. I don't know. It's just something that I've been thinking about. So Tom is already on his way, which is great.
Have you guys met my brother Steven? He looks exactly like Kelsey. It's hilarious. I'm gonna have to do something with that.
No, show us a side by side. Prove it.
Jess, you still got that Mummers outfit?
I do.
There you go.
I'll be right back. It
Have
looks like there's a
Steve on
fire in the
show
bathroom.
and
I got to
tell
go check it out.
everyone that Jason's on.
He said there's fire in the bathroom.
There's a fire in his crotch. He's got to
Guess
go
what?
pee.
I got to put it out.
The beautiful thing is, I just remove your ass. Peace. Yeah. All right. Well, look, guys.
We
I
got
don't know.
the Sixers, man. They're on the roll. Embiid's playing MVP level. We knew this was going to happen since Thanksgiving. I mean, I've never been this calm about an Eagles playoff life in my loss in my life. So I once said they're just not that squad, and it turns out they just weren't that squad. And I was not that upset on Monday for some reason. I don't know why. I was over it. So
Check your pulse. Fink, did you have something to say there?
No.
Oh.
Dude, we got MVP level Embiid back. He just put fucking 40 on Joker last night. Let's go Sixers.
Okay.
Man.
But and we'll end on this discussion real quick. I was just having this conversation with somebody. He's had these moments before, right? He's looked, and granted, he's clearly playing better than he ever has.
Nick Nurse.
You think it's Nick
It's
Nurse?
different.
Here's the thing: we've seen him play out of his mind, and for some reason, when the intensity picks up and the game changes in the playoffs, it hasn't seemed like he can do that. Now this year, you were hearing all these players like never before talking about he's unguardable, he's unstoppable, and we just have to hope that somehow that continues to be the case in the playoffs, and he can carry us to a championship.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Pat Bev said on one of his podcasts that players that would talk shit to him last year won't talk shit to Pat Bev on the court now because Embiid, and they know that Embiid will just go after him. He said he always had big men that talk shit to him, and he's like, they know that if he talks shit, Embiid's just going to go off on him. And he says no one talks to him anymore.
right, and that's
they know how good Embiid is. This is insane. He is on an insane tear right now. I don't even think he gets enough respect for what he's doing right now.
Yeah, and the team's got a different vibe this year. I feel like the coach is making a huge difference. In the NBA itself, the Eastern Conference, it just seems like it's more wide open this year than ever for some reason. The entire NBA
Marshall
does.
Meach.
So
okay. But here's the question:
you never know.
considering all that, should I feel differently about this team in terms of their ability to actually make a run in the playoffs?
No, you shouldn't feel good until they get out of the second round. It's the sad fact of it, but it's the fact.
Thank you.
And you could argue differently and say, oh no, this is a different team. But if they lose in the second round, it's the same fucking team with the same fucking outcome. So until that happens, shit, I've seen Embiid 50-point games. I've seen him beat everybody. I've seen him dominate everybody.
You got to appreciate the greatness of Embiid right now. He's must-watch TV.
And you know what? You know what I also understand? Shaquille O'Neal didn't win a championship until his 8th or 9th year in the league. Sometimes it takes a big man a while, and he's got to get the right team around him, and he's got to get the right coach. And it might happen, but I can't get too excited because I've seen the same shit over and over and 5-6 years in a row. Same shit.
Well,
but I'll tell you this. I went to the Sixers game on Monday. Now if anyone watching, which is probably one person at this point, and
12
minutes into it.
Looks like 12. I don't know if that includes us.
All right. Well, that's a 6.
Our Twitter numbers don't come up.
Half a dozen people can hear the story. So I I brought my entire family. I got 5 boys, and my wife came with me. So we got the assembly room seats. They're all the way up top because we couldn't even find 7 seats together, let alone 7 affordable seats together. So this was our only option. I've never been up there. It was a kind of nice place. We got there early. They have, it looks like a rich person's study. They have those leather sofas with like the buttons all around them, you know what I mean? And the nice couches with the lamps where you could sit there and read. But the whole place was filled with people who brought their kids to just run around unsupervised. They're jumping around in these kids. I'm trying to watch a game. My kids like are kind of annoyed by this, and they're half interested because you can't sit; you have to stand. There are seats in front, but apparently you have to pay for those. It's a whole weird vibe up. Has anyone else ever been to this besides me?
I've never even heard of this.
Years ago, I was up there. Years ago.
It
I've
only
been up
it
there.
only started like a couple years ago.
I've
so
walked through it. I've never.
I sat up that high,
Absolutely.
not in the scenario you're
it
talking about.
wasn't a bad. What the fuck, Rock?
There's a cat butthole in there. I'm sorry, guys.
I just seen. I'm trying to tell a story. I see cat asshole in my camera.
Pull that clip.
Yeah.
Well,
You know what?
I
There
prefer
goes
the
my
coffee.
train of thought. Anyway, this assembly room, it's not for parents to bring their kids just to run amok. And they had their shoes off, throwing popcorn at each other, jumping on the couches. Like, it's just disrespectful. I mean, man, I hate it. I hated everything about it. I hated the entire experience. I didn't know if it was an afternoon game or that's how it is all the time, but never again.
All right.
This
well,
is part of the Sixers' plan to move to the center city.
right. They want it to be a bad
Stay
experience.
woke, Meech.
None of them knew anything about basketball. Nothing.
Well, guys, I don't know where we go from here. We'll just take
More
it.
cat.
More cat, more dog. We'll take it a week at a time, and we're gonna get into some other stuff too. Let's get back to some arts and culture. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Let's mix it up a little bit. But as always, a pleasure talking to you guys, and we'll just continue to work through this. Hopefully, the Sixers will keep making us feel good, and we're gonna have to start working in some Flyers stuff. I think we need to take an outing to the Flyers game
I'm
for
in.
the City Pigeons crew to refamiliarize ourselves with hockey and the Flyers. Are you guys down for that?
I'm down. Meanwhile, I'll brush up
Man.
on my arts and culture.
Please do.
If you want to do it tomorrow night, Meech, I'm bringing my 3 kids, and they can have a popcorn fight for you.
No, I got my son's game tomorrow night, but I'd love to go.
Think.
Who we playing?
Let's get Devin over to the section that Mark
Like
is
upper,
in.
I don't even know where the hell they're playing. It's far away.
She's not working tomorrow. I have confirmed.
Yo, Fink, the 30th, we play at Judge. I mean, at home against Judge.
Ooh, that sounds like a City Pigeons
Yeah,
night
we
out
might
there
have to
too.
broadcast the City Pigeons for my son's game up there.
If
We got-
two of
we got
us are
no-
there, that counts. So you guys, you have fun, and I'm gonna catch you guys next time. All right?
Are you not in the Holy Ghost Brett versus Father Judge basketball
Not into it enough to come
with young Max Michi playing?
Yeah,
Well,
I see you don't want to support my son. That's cool.
No, need no
Wow!
that.
Wow!
All right. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Later.